It's solely you.
That's not gonna last.
You have
I
spots
call it
with
now.
you, correct? I don't have to.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about.
But hey, we made it here.
Yeah, this would not be necessarily a day to go racing, I don't think.
No, but actually it's going to help, I think, all this frozen ground and all the snow. We got places, Lincoln, Pennsylvania, Lincoln Speedway, and Abbottstown, Pennsylvania, still has a race on their schedule for this Saturday. I don't know if they'll get it in or not, but and Attica opens a month from now, so this will definitely help the ground a little bit. Get some of the snow off of it, get some of the frost out of it, and then hopefully it'll warm up from here.
Yeah, that's
then it'll dry out.
Yeah, well, and let's hope it dries out. We don't have one of those springs. Although we need the spring for the rain and the farmers and all that kind of stuff. But
that's right.
That needs to go like Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
Right, as long as it don't rain on race day, that's all that matters.
Then we'll all dry out. Yeah, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Right.
Then let it dry out that way.
Yeah, it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, I think it works out. I'll talk to the guy I know about that.
There you go.
You saw how I took care of the racing tracks, the racetracks last year.
Right, I know it worked out pretty good.
I mean, you said, hey, it's May 32nd, and
right.
I need a really good day for
it's
that.
May 32nd. We're giving away $100,000 a day, like Facebook is on February 29th, and
exactly.
I mean,
I need some sunshine for the race.
Right.
Day, and we just provide them with the race with the sunshine.
Exactly.
Hey, On the Throttle is brought to you by your local Napa Auto Parts store here in Bryan, Ohio. What do you call that thing nowadays? Is it still Lob Auto Parts?
Well,
become, Dwayne Hancock's yet?
Well, close. Okay. Official name is Lob Auto Parts of Bryan, Ohio.
Okay. Right.
But we just kind of do Napa Auto Parts of Bryan that way because nobody knows who Lob is, and Lob hasn't owned it since the 90s. So
yeah, that's I knew all things have changed. I keep asking that. It's up on my read sheet here. So I wanted to ask that one more time. So it's Hancock Auto Parts.
Right, that's what. Yeah.
Suburban Auto here in Bryan, AJ Door, Jason Dietz Customs and Collisions, Trailers and Trailer Repair, and Fast Forward Motorsports, as well as Bryan Ford Lincoln, and those are the folks that bring you this show every week. And we do have a guest. We
do.
Ignored him just a little bit, but he's
that's
a
fine.
repeat
right.
offender too.
We gotta get our stream. Yeah, get our stream thing going here.
Don't move it around too fast, man. There you go. Do it that way. That's good.
Yeah.
Who's our guest today, man? Who's that guy sitting next to
we have Elliot Aldridge here from Dirt Nerds podcast. Now, see, I almost messed that up, and I've been on it like 5 times.
Yeah.
But Dirt Nerds podcast. So everybody listening, you gotta listen to Elliot's deal. Usually on Monday, he puts up a new podcast. Covers all kind of dirt track racing, and he's actually still with One Dirt magazine and that too. So he's like everybody else. He gets one project going, then another, and another, and another. Because we can't say no, right, Elliot?
Yeah, my wife really appreciates that as well. So
well, you're more of a late model fan, and I gotta bring this up. Your wife is a sprint car fan, so there's somebody smart in the family, so it's okay. We'll forgive her.
And she's listening, so I'm sure she appreciates that too. Yeah, but
if your wife is like my wife, anything that gets me out of the house and out of her way, she appreciates.
Yeah, she doesn't relay it in those exact terms, but I know that's the truth. How about that?
When you get a little older, you cut through all the BS, Elliot. At that point in time, your wife just says, she goes, "You are going to be gone like 4 nights out of this week, aren't you?"
Yeah, yeah. And then they want you to come home, and once you're home, they go, "Why can't you just leave?"
Yeah, why don't you get out of here?
Yeah. So my phone's vibrating in my pocket right now. I kind of know who's texting me. I
think, but
it could be my wife asking me if you could keep me out for the couple nights that I'm not going to be out this week.
But I'll help him. She is the smart one of the family. Just
that's the important part. That is the important part. So, Elliot? What's up in the world of racing right now? We've got winter up here. So, how do you keep busy with your podcast and also your magazine?
Well, OneDirt.com, the magazine, I'm still writing for them. One interesting thing with them is they have changed ownership as of first of the year.
Okay.
So they were owned by Acceleration Media, which was a company pretty much owned by the Comp Performance Group, who is a huge, huge company in all of motorsports. Mm-hmm. It was to help their marketing efforts. Well, the CMO, who was the chief marketing officer, became the COO.
Okay.
So then the media side of the business kind of had to transition another direction. So they sold it to a company called Power Auto Media out of California.
Okay.
A huge digital footprint and media for motorsports. They do off-road drag racing, Ford muscle type stuff, Corvettes, the whole 9 yards. So that's kind of been a change. I'm still writing for them. I've been in communication with their editor and stuff. I actually have a piece ready to go. It's just a little red tape to work through before we get there. So,
okay.
But their plans are still the same. Giving out magazines wherever we can and stuff like that. So, that's kind of been.
And it's a good read. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah, no, you brought one dirt in here with you today and left me 3 editions right now, and I really. Not even being a racing fan to start with. I mean, it is good to go through, and I always, whenever you bring these in, I always end up going through and reading something because there's a lot of good stuff in here, even for a guy that's not a racing guy.
Yeah, and I know Dwayne taking you guys to a race last year, maybe you're a little more interested even now to read some. So, but yeah, you'll see there's
Does
a
it have
racing.
Pictures?
Lots of.
He's good at pictures. I don't know about reading, but he's good at pictures.
Well, but it's funny you say that because I open up. We had Brad Doty on a couple times. Okay, and you open up the magazine. I've never met Brad. I've never seen him. Okay, but there is a nice picture of. That's exactly it. In a lot of cases, there's a lot of folks that we talk about. That all of a sudden I go, skimming through your magazine right away, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I know that guy. I know that name. He's a lot better looking than what I thought he was.
Right.
or vice versa.
Jim's like, dang it, there's more guys that look better than me.
Exactly. So, so how the magazine's been around how long, Elliot? Nowadays?
Oh, man, I honestly can't tell you for sure because I know it changed ownership to come to Acceleration Media.
Okay.
So I honestly don't know how long. I've been doing it for 2 years, but
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And your podcast that you do with our buddy Randy.
Yeah.
How long you been doing that?
That I started, April will be a year. So,
okay.
It's called the Dirt Nerds Podcast, and I can explain to you how I came up with the name. But it's we talk about pretty much dirt racing and a little bit of anything. As Dwayne can tell you, last time he was on, we talked a little ARCA and some asphalt racing even. So, just one of those things where. My wife would say I talk too much as it is, so hey, it's easy. It's easy for me to do, maybe she would think, but no, just a thing I started on my own. I got into podcasting, a couple years ago, and really found out how simple it was to be able to do it and how cost effective you can do it, and stuff like that. So just something kind of try to do to grow a brand and hopefully maybe turn it into a whole media outlet more so than just podcasting. But for now. Podcasting is just kind of a good way to get a voice out in the world. So.
Yeah, and he's had you've had some great contacts already through it, and some good guests. Besides myself, I mean, but I mean, you've had some good guests.
That would be mediocre guests,
right?
Every now and then you do have to scrape the bottom of the.
That's right. Yes. I can tell when he's hurting for guests. Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing Monday? But no, that's always fun, and of course, kind of a little looser format than us since we're. Are live on the radio that we can say whatever we want. I mean,
on a podcast, that is one of the things that is nice. I mean, you really do.
Yeah, and that was part of why I did it was because I like to have more of an in-depth conversation with anyone, even Dwayne or Randy whenever we're sitting down. But as well as when I'm getting people to interview and things, and you can say whatever you want. You can be say swear words and everything, but more importantly is the length. You can record it for as long as you want. Some of mine I've done like, hey, quick hit 20-minute episode of just me rambling about a couple things, and I think me and Dwayne's first one was like 2 hours long. So just a lot of versatility with it.
It's hard for us to talk about races and stuff.
I mean, let me put it this way: it was 2 hours long. I talked for 30 minutes probably the entire time. So
I understand that.
I bet you do.
Wait a minute.
You say it's
what's going on here?
And then you just kind of. I normally take a nap through this program most of the time. I catch up on my beauty rest on the throttle.
Where's BB at? We need him to host this program from now on.
He's back there.
Anyway, he's still hiding back there.
So do you do a new podcast every week then? Is
that
how that works, Ellie?
Yeah, part of podcasting success, if you want to call it that.
Sure.
And anyone could do a hobby podcast. You could do one a year if you want, but kind of a success with a following, maybe an eventual chance to monetize it is consistency. So, I decided once a week. There's the big guys that do them multiple times a week. There's some that do them once a day. Some of those are only 10, 15, 20-minute ones. So I try to do mine once a week and stay, I think I've missed 3 weeks up to this point. Weekly is kind of the format I think works best, especially with how racing falls. It's always a weekend, so then Monday we can talk about everything. So.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, you've made some good connections, had some great guests already, and it's still growing, like you said. And anybody that's listening, definitely it's worth downloading the podcast and liking Dirt Nerds on Facebook and that to grow that audience, because I know you got some things coming up too in the works that sounds pretty good. And and now you got can koozies.
Yes, I made some can koozies, a little branding, if you call it that, I guess. So
Elliot, when you start handing out can koozies, the future is bright.
Exactly. I don't think you can get much higher.
No, he'll be on Fox Sports here or ESPN.
Right?
One of the two.
And
soon, I'm sure.
One of the
TMZ.
Cool things, yeah. One of the cool things I've discovered kind of with these is I kind of did like a little giveaway when I first got these, and I have the envelopes to send out. Okay. And I'm sending some to Washington, I'm sending some to South Dakota, I'm sending some to Missouri, a couple local people, one guy from Bryan, so out to Pennsylvania. So it's kind of cool just saying, hey, if you want one, mail me or message me, and then I get all these different. Okay, well, I guess I'm more than just a little local guy at this point. So
and that's one thing from this program, live streaming that. It's amazing the people you hear from out of state and different places that are listening regularly, and I know Elias ran into that, and we've kind of helped each other out a little bit too. I mean, try to get some of our sources connected with him, and he gets us some sources and some contacts. I mean, he set us up with a few guests, and I know he's talking a few more here.
Yeah,
and stuff that's coming up.
Like the one magazine I gave you is a drag racing magazine.
Sure.
I interviewed Cruz Pedregon's general manager. And so that's how Dwayne got the contact info to set up Cruz Pedregon as a interview. Yep. And they got a dirt car, so they just said, hey, we kind of want to get the word out. And I said, hey, I know a guy.
And he just added a midget to the stable.
Yeah, he just added a midget.
So
and
we'll have to get a hold of him and get that
I bet you
rolling.
that's going to be a chili bowl ride. What's the odds?
Yeah, right. For sure.
So, but yeah, I mean, the cool thing with the podcast, especially with dirt track racing, is the accessibility to people. So I've had guests like Larry Bowes from Eldora Speedway, Don O'Neill, Ben Shelton, who was the editor for One Dirt that I wrote for. Great guy that I just wanted to talk to. He's started his own business in motorsports and is doing really well with it. Like I said, Dwayne, as much as we joke, Dwayne has been a big help with me, and especially in a pinch, he's more than willing to come over and talk for a little while. Who else have I had on? I can't even remember.
I know you had Brian Lisky.
Oh, yeah, I had Brian. Yeah, Brian was a good one to talk to. Chris Ferguson
Chris
from
Ferguson.
North Carolina. Good contact with him. So, yeah, it's been pretty cool. And, just hoping to make it bigger and better for the future. And like I was telling Dwayne, I got a contact from a guy making a movie about dirt track racing, and did a little research on this guy, and he's actually an actor in The Walking Dead, the series. He is one of the characters, I believe, in seasons 6 and 7, and I don't know how that whole show works because I don't watch it a lot, but that's a huge show, I know. So pretty cool to, and that's just a random contact. So it'd be cool to have him on when time comes.
Yeah, and that's what you're saying. You told me that last week when I was over there, and I mean it's cool, and that shows you that the word's getting out too about it. And today, hopefully, a lot of our fans that haven't liked your podcast yet or listened to it, definitely worth listening to. A lot of news, like I said, concentrating on dirt, but you hit pavement at some drag racing, like you said, and different things, and it's just another neat outlet of marketing and for the racers and race teams and stuff. And I mean, and like I said, you cover a lot of late model stuff. I cover a lot of sprint car stuff, and we give each other a lot of crap and that. But we both follow each other's stuff. I mean, we always follow. I follow late models too, and he follows sprint cars too. And actually, if you ask him, I think he's been to more sprint car races lately. And he's rode with us a few times. I mean,
and you've saved me seats a few times.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's the cool thing about this area. Is when you're looking to hit more of the big ticket type of shows. So that's regional series, main series. We have a lot of good sprint car racing come through this area, so it's just hard not to go to a good sprint car race.
Yep. Well, and like I said, and one of the big series for late models come here is pretty good. I remember the Lucas Oil show, the last one they ever had at Attica, because they haven't came back since. But that was one of the best late model shows I've seen at Attica. I mean, so it all works, and everybody likes to give each other a little bit of crap about that stuff. But everybody likes it all. Well, just like we was talking about Florida, we're sitting there both sprint car fans and late model fans. First thing we started talking about was the big block modifieds.
Yeah.
So.
And the other cool part with the podcast is, we can offer our opinions on things and talk about, what's going on, and we've had some controversies lately in the racing world, and we have these things called forums, which are maybe thankfully kind of on the way out, hopefully.
Right.
But a lot of people like to voice their opinions under a screen username.
Yeah, hide their identity.
And don't kind of look at things subjectively sometimes. So I like to talk about things going on and kind of look at what sides are going on and kind of what we think. And we did that in our last episode that you were on with me. So.
Controversy in racing?
I mean, it happens very little. But,
right after we did our podcast, there was a little bit of one... with Tyler Herb.
Well, it's funny because I was literally thinking the day before, man, there's not a whole lot going on. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. And then the next day, Hudson O'Neal tries to steal someone's girlfriend, and then there's a fight, and someone gets arrested, and we got content, baby.
This is after the races, and everybody thought it was an incident on the track, and was running their mouth about, this driver, that, and it had nothing to do with race cars or on the track. It had to do with off the track activities.
So there you go. TMZ might be
right. See, I know.
There you go.
Possibility.
You gotta open up all avenues.
You do. Elliot Aldridge is our guest here today on The Throttle. He is part of the Dirt Nerds podcast. In fact, he is Mr. Dirt Nerd.
That's me.
That, right?
Right.
And writes for One Dirt magazine as well. And we have him here until we're done on The Throttle here today, whatever time that might run into. But right now, Elliot, we do fortunately get to pay some bills with some advertising, and right now I need to pay some of them. We'll step away for a minute. When we come back, we'll talk more racing right here on The Throttle.
If you want to talk about.
And we're back on the throttle here, 25 after 12 on a Monday. Dwayne and Elliot Aldridge with us here today, and I think we need to shout out. We had a couple folks shout at us here.
Yeah.
Maybe we ought to shout out Randy Roberts, who's basically the co-host.
Part-time co-host.
Part-time co-host. He was shouted out and listening to us right now, and also Dane Miller.
Yeah, and he was actually one of the guests.
Yeah, he was my guest too.
Yeah, so
he's awake right now.
Yeah, he went to some races over the weekend, and now he did. Now he's going Wednesday again. He told me he's going to slow down this year, and I won't. And I'll blow him away in race total. He's full of crap.
Yeah,
he's going to keep going.
He's just suckering you. Dangling that little worm in front.
Right.
He must be eating breakfast listening to us. I think right about now.
That's probably it.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a thing here, the Dirt Nerds. How did you come up with Dirt Nerds? I mean.
Well, it's kind of interesting, and I'm kind of a weird marketing, wannabe. Maybe is the best term.
I didn't know where this was going.
Yeah, and so I was kind of thinking, originally I was thinking about calling it like This Week in Dirt Racing or Dirt Racing This Week or something along those names. And then you look
generic.
Yeah, then you look on Facebook and Twitter, and you have Dirt Racing Report, Dirt Racing News, Dirt Racing Weekly, Dirt Racing Monthly, Dirt Racing this, and then you have your other type of names that are just a little aggressive, maybe. Sure. And then you have, then I'm thinking like the World of Outlaws. Have you seen their trailers, their official trailers have all these skeletons.
All right.
And I'm thinking, man, I don't want to be that serious. I want to have a little fun too. Well, me and my wife are kind of, we'll say it. We're nerds. And we've been known to go to some Comic-Cons on occasion.
I rember that.
We got our picture with the late Carrie Fisher once upon a time, as my wife is a huge Star Wars fan. So I was and I listened to the Nerdist podcast, which is actually not called the Nerdist podcast anymore. But anyway, so I was kind of thinking a mix of, between that, and it's like, I'm
right.
You can ask my wife. If you look at my phone, my Facebook, and Twitter, it's all racing stuff. And she kind of said, you're a total nerd when it comes to racing. So I was like, that is a good idea right there.
Just racing?
Yeah, that's
okay.
Exactly.
Right.
Just racing. And and then I kind of was messing around with some free software editing, photo editing stuff, and kind of came up with some comic book text and said, man, that logo would look pretty cool in a shirt or a hat. So,
like your business cards has got some comic book stuff to it too that you showed me the other day.
So it's kind of a way to. It's a cool, it's something cool that'll look good on a shirt or a hat. And it's just a way to kind of still be fun and not so serious about everything all the time.
Right, and catch people's attention.
Yeah, and
it don't sound like anything else really, and it's got a different look, and that's what you got to do to stand out.
The other night I posted on when Lucas Oil Racing, the Dirt Late Model Series was at East Bay. They do some shout-outs on TV on Twitter. So under my Dirt Nerds Twitter, I posted, we're rooting for Don O'Neill, a former guest on Dirt Nerds, and sure enough, James Essex and Chris Stefan are saying Dirt Nerds, making fun of it. I go, hey, I'll take it. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Exactly.
That's right.
I agree, 100%.
Well, when Jim gives us his 401k money to start this race team we're going to start, it's going to be sponsored by On the Throttle and Dirt Nerds. That's
there we go.
I mean,
the only two that are up there.
Yeah.
And you know what? When we get that kind of money, we'll be able to sit on the beach and just watch the races at that point.
We'll be like it was at Daytona yesterday. I mean, we can crash stuff as good as they can.
Exactly.
I mean,
so did you guys watch Daytona yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually had, as we talked about, a party at for Kelsey Ivy, the fundraiser, which went very well, and we was all sitting there, a lot of people watching it, and it was, I don't know if it was a race or demolition derby or I'm not quite sure what it was.
It's the only NASCAR race I watch each year.
Yeah,
for the most part.
Yep.
And I could tell you, NASCAR has a lot of criticism of a lot of things they do, not everything they do, but a lot of things. And, one of them's the length in the race, and I can attribute to that because my wife says, is this thing still on? So, but yes, we ended up watching the end, and we were kind of talking, do you think there should have been a caution at the end there or not?
I think the rule is after halfway on the backstretch, I don't think they do.
But even for a wreck like that, that was my thing. I'm like,
yeah, because it was the leader. Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing. Here comes how many ever cars are left. There's a good 20-some cars left yet.
Only 5 of them were on the lead.
Coming at the leader at 200 miles per hour as he's spinning down the middle of the backstretch. So, I mean, logic would tell you you'd probably throw a caution, just, hey, warn the guys. Of course, they got spotters and all that. But, yeah, it was... the 3-car had to they put the 3-car in the lead, and they wasn't gonna slow that down so he wouldn't win.
Yeah, to me, I think it would have if they would have thrown the caution. To me, it would have been like okay, here's a chance to reset it because the way the leader got kind of taken out, if you will. So I was like, hey, that way it would have been nice to say, okay, here's a lap and a half, 2 laps or whatever, just to shoot it out again. But it's NASCAR, and until we figure out their algorithm for figuring out their rules, I guess we'll never know.
That's right. Yeah, that's crazy. So yeah, I mean, you never know with that race what's going to happen. Some of the favorites got taken out right away. I mean, Jimmy Johnson, a bunch of them got taken out, and that's always, everybody's like, oh, there goes a point steal. But after 2-3 weeks, it straightens back out. So. And
we were both kind of rooting for Ryan Blaney, so we were both kind of sad to see him go backwards. But
so was my daughter because she had $200 on the line for that too. So
there you go.
But yeah, it was a good time, and like I said, we had a little fundraiser going with it too to help Kelsey Ivey's race team moving up to 410, and that went very well. There's some things that went there, and I scored me a nice little ticket package for some events coming up too. So that worked out good.
Yeah.
So we might be set up a little bit when we go to Attica, even a little more now. So.
Oh man, there you go.
Yeah.
You mean past the fact that we're going with Dwayne Hancock?
Yes, past that fact. Yeah.
There's more to be had.
I don't know if that's good or bad. Depends who you ask.
I was gonna say, if you're going with Dwayne, you don't even get in the gate. They turn you around.
Well, now we have free tickets. We have free passes. So
okay, you two, you're good. Dwayne,
right?
See ya.
Now BB and I can get in.
That's right.
He'll have to hang in the car.
That's right.
Why, Elliot? Why only that first NASCAR race? Are you just too busy after Daytona, or what happens?
Well, as far as entirety, I would say, Atlanta's on next week, and I might watch a little bit. Then turn it on towards the end if something's going on.
Okay.
And then a lot of their interesting races, are Saturday night races, and we're out at the dirt track, and
sure.
MIS is a snooze fest, which is the closest track to us.
Right.
I've been to that race 4 or 5 times, and it's trouble to stay awake usually. The most fun part about MIS is the tailgating beforehand, pretty much.
That's another reason why it makes it hard to stay awake.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, the cooler full of beverages, maybe, to that too. But I don't know. But I think maybe this year will be different because there's a lot of interesting people in NASCAR this year, especially ones that came from dirt or dirt roots. And then we see a guy like Bubba Wallace, super emotional after finishing second yesterday because that kid was on the rise. He was the next top guy, and then all of a sudden, there's no rides for you. Sitting on the sidelines, and now he's got a ride. So it may be a little more interesting this year than the past.
Oh yeah.
So
and a lot of people don't like the segment racing, but it definitely makes it more interesting if you do watch the race because they start racing hard 3 times a race instead of just once. And, and I'm with Elliot there. Usually the rest of the races, I mean, you watch Daytona and usually Bristol if you can, or maybe Talladega. But after that, you just kind of watch the finishes. You know about when it's going to finish because we're used to seeing heat, in one heat race, sometimes when we go to these short tracks, there's more passing than there was in one NASCAR race and one 8-lap heat race around here.
Yeah, I mean, and not to mention, we're out late Saturday watching our dirt racing, so Sunday's a day for us to either catch up on something or in my case, take the wife out somewhere and, ask for forgiveness for being gone so long. So
there you go. And I just look for another dirt race.
And Dwayne goes 6 hours away to come home at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, and then Elliot will be like, dude, you need somebody to ride with you? Let me see if I can go.
Yeah. Not on a Sunday night, trust me.
It doesn't work that way.
Not for me.
Not going to happen that way. So, guys, what else is going on? You had the big event this past weekend. Dwayne, what else is going on for the local racers?
We talked about the Angola Speedway benefit, the roller skating deal they had for the safety team, and they reported that went very well. They raised a little over $1,400 in their 3-hour activity for the safety team up there this year. So that a lot of good events this past weekend, and coming up this weekend, as of right now, Lincoln Speedway in Pennsylvania is supposed to kick off the sprint car season Saturday at 2 p.m., but I would be very shocked if they will, just the way the weather is with all the rain and that. But we'll see. And then,
why do you set something up like that? Because I got to believe that 9 out of 10 years you have to reschedule that first race.
I know you might be surprised. They get a lot of them in, and it's packed. You should see it. It's nuts. And, you know, I'm a diehard Ohio sprint car guy, but you got to give it up for the Pennsylvania people. Every sprint car race there, every, like, big deal, like, you know, Speed Week here, Ohio Sprint Speed Week's big, and you get, you know, a lot of fans and a lot of cars. But you go to Pennsylvania Speed Week a couple weeks later, and you get there at 1, 2 in the afternoon, and 3/4 of the parking lot's full, and people are tailgating, playing football, playing Frisbee, playing, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And, you know, tailgating for 3 hours before the races, and every time this icebreaker, it's just been a tradition there forever, and they'll be, I think last year they got it in, and there was like 5,000-6,000 people there. I mean, they just packed the place. Everybody's
everyone just throws on the car hearts and goes.
Yep. And they do it during the day, so it is a little warmer.
Sure.
And actually to help with the track too. I mean, you know, because at night with the moisture coming back out if it gets cold. But this year, I mean, sometimes it does struggle, and I think this year will be one of them. But we'll see. You never know. I mean, they've scraped mud off or snow off the track before in race, so we'll see. So we'll see. That's a tentative that they'll race, but people that want to see some type of racing, and you know, we got just the opposite deal. We got the snow melting, but up in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, at the casino this weekend, they have the professional snowcross snowmobile races. It's kind of like motocross and that, but on snowmobiles. That's Friday and Saturday night, both nights. And what they do, if there's no snow, they have a machine that'll make snow to make the track, which you're better with natural snow because the homemade snow kind of tears up a little more. But I see, looking at the forecast, Pennsylvania has a good forecast as far as no rain and that for Friday and Saturday. So if there is a chance, they might be able to get in, and there's no rain up to Michigan, but at like low 40s. So be interesting to see there. And but that's the things coming up in our area. And we talked about the hog barn races down to Columbus. Salute to John Ivey, Paul Weaver, and Phil Gressman. Well, Phil Gressman is racing 360s in Pennsylvania, so in Florida. But they had some team races too, and John Ivey happened to win on the team race with Sam Weaver, which is part of Paul Weaver's family there. So that was kind of neat for them. And one thing that did happen, and I talked to Kelsey Ivey about it yesterday, one of the young sprint car drivers in the limited sprints at Atomic, he was racing a go-kart. Derek Hammond took a really bad wreck there at the hog barn and broke T9, 10, and 11 vertebrae in his back and his ribs and that. And he's probably going to be out for the year in sprint cars and who knows what. But want to give a shout out to him, and as he recovers, I know it's a lot better than I thought at first, but he's busted up pretty good. And we had some winners, and that some names like AJ Lasecki, which races over Fort Wayne a lot. Dustin Heath, Sam Longenbach, local guy, won down there, and second generation driver, or maybe third generation in the kid karts, Reagan Valeni won the kid kart. So a lot of action over there in Columbus over the weekend. I know it was a pretty good event for the salute for all the drivers and that. And speaking of Florida, I mean, we had a lot of races, the late models, 360s and USAC sprints all kicked off. And the Road Outlaw late models, we talked about it before. Kind of the area driver around here from McClure, Rusty Slank, is running the Outlaw Tour. And he made the shows in Florida, but they didn't go so well for Rusty's usually used to running first, second, or third every time, and he was getting finishes like 24th, 21st, 26th, and said he was fast and just didn't have the results, had some bad luck and stuff. And I know Elliott has a little, was paying a lot of attention to that too.
Yeah, Rusty's been really successful around here and over to Illinois. One thing with speed weeks in Florida, especially in the late models, it seems like, is you can't let that first 2 weeks discourage you, because for some reason Volusia and East Bay are just completely different animals than anywhere else.
Well, that's funny because I talked to Brian Kemenall yesterday, Chad Kemenall's brother, and crew chief for Chad. They've won the All-Star title the last 2 years, and that's the thing about Florida. They just had a very successful Florida. I don't think Chad finished worse than 8th between all the All-Star races and Outlaw races down there. They was in the top 8 every night. And, I talked to Brian. He goes, he says, when you come out of Florida like that, because Florida can really hurt you if you break some cars or engines or anything, but it can help you and get your momentum going for the year too if you run like Chad did, run like 9, 10 races and finish in the top 8 every single one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you saw, going back to that point, Josh Richards in the best performance, they took off because they hurt 2 motors.
Yeah.
And Josh had to jump in a spare car for the Volusia week. And then, we saw Chris Madden, who didn't win a feature, win the whole week at Volusia.
Yeah,
it's just one of those things. Like, nothing makes sense. It seems in speed weeks.
Yeah, and they had a lot of different winners. You had Bloomquist, B. Shep, Brandon Shepard, Dale McDowell, Tim McCready. Which is good. You get down there and get a bunch of different winners. Then the 360 sprints, Terry McCarroll from Iowa won the big show on Saturday night, and we had a local guy here, Light Ohio's Max Stanball, that runs around here. He ran the All-Star sprints for Rookie of the Year last year, so he did move up the 410s and travel a lot. But I mean, he came from the 360s, basically just ran, Lima and places like that. He goes down there in Florida, gets back in the 360s, and finished 6th, 7th, and 7th. With some of the best 360 guys, and our old buddy Danny Smith, in the gym, in the gym fan department there.
Right.
He got 10th on the final night when he dropped a cylinder, but he was 10th, 12th, 14th, and so some good guys in our area ran decent down in Florida for that. And then the USAC sprints, Chase Stocking started the season off there, and Tyler Courtney, and the salute to Brian Clausen. He's running for the Clausen family, and they did an old throwback Brian Clausen car. He's always just had a black 7 when he started, and it's a black 7 BC, and he won 2 of the 3 races. So,
Okay.
and he's not even the point leader. He's 3rd in points. He wins 2 of the 3 races and is 3rd in points, to tell you how tight that was.
Wow, that's amazing. Hey, it's time for us to step away one more time, pay some more bills. When we come back, we'll wrap things up here on the throttle for a Monday. We've got Elliot Aldridge with us right now, and we'll talk with him a little bit more. Let you know how you can watch the podcast, how you can get the magazines, all those kind of good things as we wrap things up on the throttle on a Monday.
Northwest Ohio's largest trailer dealer with over
my experience. And it's
Done right.
So from my perspective, why wouldn't you?
And we'll shout out to our boys at Suburban. I know they listen to the program every week. And Dave and the guys, I'm sure last week with Valentine's Day around, those were the 3 biggest sweethearts of the entire town.
Well,
David,
that
his
could
dad,
be.
his brother, I
That
wouldn't doubt
could
that
be.
at all,
That could be.
I'm sure they got more Valentines than anybody else.
Well, that they might have. I mean, that's very possible.
I wouldn't doubt
They are big racing fans, and
no
and been
doubt.
involved in the sport, so that helps too. That helps get you Valentines.
No doubt about that. Anything coming up that this week that anybody ought to be aware of, Dwayne, for one last reminder?
Yeah, just if you're in the snowcross or want to try something different, go to Mount Pleasant this weekend, or Friday and Saturday. They got snowcross. I always watch it on TV, and always thought about venturing up and watching one, but we'll see what happens. And maybe if you into traveling, I don't know how risky you want to take going to Pennsylvania this week if they race it. But they're usually pretty good. If they don't think they're going to be able to get in, they usually start saying about Thursday or Friday that it ain't going to happen. So we'll see what happens there. But that's the two biggest things, outdoor stuff, and it starts. And starting after that, I mean, we're only a few weeks away. If the weather holds out, Atomic Speedway, Chillicothe, Ohio, opens up March 16th, and Brownstown Speedway March 17th with the Lucas Oil Series. And that area is getting pounded right now because Portsmouth, which is only about a half hour south of Chillicothe, the track's flooded there right now. We put up on the Throttle Facebook page today, which that's right on the river. So
they're used to it.
Yeah, it usually gets flooded. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here with the weather in the next few weeks, and dirt's going to start flying in the area soon.
Yeah, no doubt. Elliot, on your podcast, guests coming up here in the next couple of weeks?
Well, guest, I know the big one. I'm still solidifying a date as the movie is releasing at the end of March, I believe March 23rd. It's called Shifting Gears. It's a movie about dirt track racing. Kind of a family comedy, but the writer slash main actor in it, his name is R. Keith Harris. He, like I said, he's on the Walking Dead series as Dr. Harlan Carson, I believe. So if you're into Walking Dead, you've probably seen him there in the recent seasons. But he's the lead actor. But there's John Ratzenberger's in it. Cliff from Cheers, as a lot of people know. Right. C. Thomas Howell's in it. Another guy named MC Gainey, who has been in a lot of movies you'd recognize. So really cool. Like I said, that guy, Keith, reached out to me and said he would love to do an interview. So looking forward to that. That's coming up. And I got a couple other confirmations I'm waiting on, so I can't really say for sure. But especially once racing season starts, it's kind of hard to get some interviews at that time, as Dwayne could probably tell you. So that's when we usually just talk and go back and forth about what's going on. So
did you say MC Funderburg's in that movie?
I'm on that one. It's a surprise show.
Yeah, there you go.
It's also in the adult version of the program. That won't be on the PG-13 side. You'll get to go take your family to later in the evening to see that one, no doubt. That's fantastic. Elliot, one more shameless plug, man, for the magazine and also the blog.
Yeah, so be sure to hit up onedirt.com for the magazine and anything going on in dirt track racing. As far as the podcast, you can listen to it on the Apple Podcast app. So if you have an iPhone, you already have it on your phone. Otherwise, if you're on Android, you can listen to it on the TuneIn app. Another great racing show, I believe I've listened to is on that one as well.
Yeah.
And then Google Play, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio is also available. So you just go to those. They're free to listen to. Like I said, if you haven't listened yet, you have a lot of good stuff to catch up on.
Yes.
And hit us up on Facebook at Dirt Nerds and Twitter, Dirt Nerds, and Instagram, Dirt Nerds 419.
Well, I know you got a new fan the other day because my mom is on Facebook now, and she discovered I was on it, so now she's been listening to the program.
Another sprint car fan to give me grief. Huh?
Yeah, that's right. So now you're in trouble. There's just more. Just
kidding. I got to eat dinner with Dwayne's parents once. They're lovely people.
Yes, they are, man. You kind of wonder how they're related to Dwayne. That's everybody that I know that knows those two, they think, well, how in the world is that possible? But,
the stork. That's how it happens. The stork.
Your mom actually posted how much you look like your dad in a picture from yesterday, and I have seen pictures of your dad, and I would agree with that too, man.
Yeah,
I bet probably a younger version of your dad, and what you looked at in that picture probably pretty similar.
I've been trying to get them to come on, and you could pick their brains for on the show one time and talk about our early years of him sleeping in the trunk of his Chevelle and mom in the back seat and me in the front seat. As a little kid going to these races and stuff. That was our motel and our motorhome. I mean, a '69 Chevelle. So
there you go. I think that's more for our medical show, though.
Well, that could be too.
Get a psychologist on here and get that.
Yes.
Kind of tell us exactly why all this.
Well, we multitask. That's what
we do. That'll do it, man. Elliot, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
It's always good having you here on the Throttle, brought to you by your Napa store here in Bryan. Suburban Auto, AJ Door, Jason Dees Customs and Collisions, Trailers and Trailer Repair, Fast Forward Motorsports, and Bryan Ford Lincoln. We do it every week right here after the noon news on the Q 96.5 FM.